Welcome to Stairway to English. In this video, we will read and listen to the inspiring life of James Dyson. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and leave your comments below to share your thoughts. Episode 1: Childhood, Curiosity, and the First Steps. James Dyson's story is not only about building machines. It is also about courage, patience, and never giving up. Before he became famous as the man who reinvented the vacuum cleaner, he was simply a curious boy. His journey started in a small town in Norfolk, England, where he was born in 1947. Life was not easy for young James. His father, who was a teacher, passed away when James was only 9 years old. This was a painful experience, and it left a deep mark on his life. Yet, instead of falling into sadness, James found strength in curiosity and creativity. As a boy, James enjoyed taking things apart. He wanted to know how they worked. He was not satisfied with just using objects. He wanted to see what was inside them. Sometimes this caused trouble because he would open up radios, bicycles, or even toys, and sometimes he could not put them back together. But this desire to understand machines would later become the foundation of his success. James was also very active in sports. He loved running, especially long-distance running. At school, he was not always the top student in subjects like mathematics or science, but he had a special gift. He could focus for a long time, and he had energy that others did not. Running taught him discipline. It taught him that progress comes slowly, step by step, and that you must keep going even when you feel tired. These lessons from running helped him later when he faced hundreds of failures in his inventions. When he finished school, James did not immediately know what he wanted to do in life. At first, he studied art at the Byam Shaw School of Art in London. This might sound surprising for someone who would later become a world-famous engineer and inventor, but art helped him think differently. He learned to see shapes, forms, and colors in unique ways. He learned that design is not only about beauty, but also about function. After some time, James decided to combine art with engineering. He went on to study at the Royal College of Art, one of the most famous schools in Britain. At the Royal College of Art, James explored product design. He was fascinated by how design could change everyday life. He believed that an object should not only look good, but should also work better. Here, he also met people who encouraged him to experiment and to take risks. This was important because James was not afraid of failure. He was ready to try, fail, and try again. One of his first big inspirations came when he worked with a man named Jeremy Fry, an entrepreneur who believed in young talent. Fry gave James the chance to join his team at Rotork, a company that designed and built engineering products. At Rotork, James worked on creating a new kind of boat called the Sea Truck. This was not a normal boat. It was flat, light, and could carry heavy loads. The Sea Truck showed James that design and engineering could solve real problems in creative ways. It also gave him confidence. He realized that he could build something completely new, even if it seemed impossible at first. During these years, James married Deirdre Hindmarsh, a teacher. She would later become his strongest supporter. They lived a simple life, and money was often tight, especially when James began working on inventions that took years to develop. But Deirdre believed in him, and this support gave James the courage to continue. The early part of James Dyson's life shows us how important curiosity and persistence are. Losing his father at a young age could have broken him, but instead it gave him strength. Running taught him discipline. Art taught him creativity. Engineering taught him how to solve problems. And his family gave him support when he needed it most. This combination of qualities, curiosity, discipline, creativity, and support, would become the foundation for his later success. James was not a genius in the traditional sense. He was not the top student, and he was not born into wealth. But he had something that many people did not: the ability to keep moving forward even when things were difficult. This is the spirit of invention, and it is the reason why James Dyson would one day rise to change the world of technology and design. Episode 2: The Birth of an Idea and the Struggle of Prototypes. After working on the sea truck, James Dyson knew he wanted to keep creating. He loved the feeling of solving problems. But he also wanted to make something that could change the lives of ordinary people. His big moment came in the late 1970s, when he became frustrated with his own vacuum cleaner at home. Vacuum cleaners at that time were heavy, noisy, and they lost suction quickly. The bags filled with dust, and then the machine became weak. James found this very annoying. One day, while working in his garden, he looked at a sawmill machine that used a cyclone system to separate dust from the air. The idea came to him suddenly. What if a vacuum cleaner could work in the same way? What if it used a cyclone to separate dirt without needing a bag? This simple idea changed his life. But having an idea is only the first step. The real challenge is turning it into reality. James started to build prototypes in a small workshop near his home. He did not have much money, so he used simple materials. He built model after model, testing and adjusting, making small changes every time. It was not easy. His first prototypes did not work well. Some were too big, some were too weak, and some simply broke down. But James did not stop. He believed strongly that the idea was good, even if the first models failed. Every failure taught him something new. He learned which materials were strong, which designs were effective, and which ones wasted energy. The process was long and painful. In fact, James Dyson made more than 5,000 prototypes over 5 years. Imagine the patience and discipline it takes to fail that many times and still continue. Most people would have given up after 10 or 20 failures, but James saw each failure as progress. He once said, "Failure is interesting. It is part of the process of success." During this time, his family life was difficult. He and his wife, Deirdre, did not have much money. They lived simply, and sometimes it was hard to pay for everyday needs. Friends and even relatives wondered why James was wasting his time on a strange machine. But Deirdre supported him. She believed in his dream, even when others did not. Finally, after years of hard work, James created a prototype that worked. It was called the G-Force vacuum cleaner. It did not use a bag. It kept strong suction all the time. It was lighter, more effective, and cleaner than traditional vacuums. James was excited. He thought companies would immediately want to buy his design. But reality was cruel. When James took his invention to large vacuum cleaner companies, they all rejected him. They said the product was too different. Some companies were afraid that if people used bagless vacuums, they would stop buying replacement bags, which was a big source of profit. So instead of seeing the potential, the companies closed their doors. This was another test for James. He had already spent years making prototypes, and now no company wanted his invention. Many people would have quit at this point, but James refused to stop. He looked for another way. If companies would not accept his product, he would find a way to bring it directly to people. At this stage, James began to think internationally. He looked outside Britain. In Japan, people were very interested in high-quality design and advanced technology. In the 1980s, James managed to sell his G-Force vacuum cleaner there. It became popular, even winning design awards. This gave him confidence again. The success in Japan gave him the resources to continue working. But his dream was not just to sell in one country. He wanted to build his own company so he could bring his product to the world without depending on big corporations. This was a very bold decision. Starting a company is risky, especially when you already face rejection and financial problems. But James believed in his invention more than anything else. The story of these years shows us two important things. First, big ideas are born from frustration. James was simply annoyed with his vacuum cleaner, and that small moment of frustration gave him the vision to change an entire industry. Second, success does not come quickly. It takes thousands of failures, years of patience, and the courage to continue when everyone says no. James Dyson's Cyclone vacuum cleaner was not just a machine. It was a symbol of persistence. It showed that one person with enough determination can stand against big companies and old traditions. It showed that creativity, combined with discipline, can bring something new to the world. By the end of this period, James was not yet a household name. He was still fighting, still building, and still waiting for his big breakthrough. But the foundations of his success were already strong. He had the invention, he had the vision, and most importantly, he had the resilience to keep moving forward. Episode 3: Building the Dyson brand and breaking through. After years of rejection and struggle, James Dyson was finally ready to take the next big step. He knew that he could not depend on other companies to support his idea. They were afraid of change, and they wanted to protect their profits from selling vacuum bags. James understood that if his idea was to succeed, he needed to build his own company. This was a very brave decision, because creating a company from nothing is never easy. It takes money, planning, and a lot of risk. But James was ready for the challenge. In 1991, with the money he earned from sales in Japan, and with the support of people who believed in him, James created the Dyson Company. His goal was simple: to make machines that worked better and solved real problems. His first product, the Cyclone vacuum cleaner, became the heart of the company. It was different from everything else on the market. It did not lose suction, it had a modern design, and it was easy to use. At first, sales were slow in the United Kingdom. Many stores did not want to sell Dyson vacuums because they thought customers would not accept such a new design. But James refused to give up. He began to advertise his vacuum in a very direct way. His message was simple and powerful. Say goodbye to the bag. This short slogan explained everything people needed to know. It was easy to remember, and it made people curious. Slowly, customers started to notice. They realized that Dyson vacuums really worked better. The machines did not get weaker with use, and they were easy to clean. Word spread quickly, and soon sales began to rise. By the mid 1990s, Dyson became the best selling vacuum cleaner in the United Kingdom. This was a huge victory. James, the man who had been rejected by every big company, now had a product that people loved and trusted. One of the most interesting things about Dyson vacuums was their design. James did not just want his machines to work well, he wanted them to look different. Traditional vacuums were boring and heavy. Dyson vacuums had bright colors, transparent bins, and modern shapes. People could actually see the dust and dirt spinning around inside the cyclone. This was not only useful, but also exciting. It made cleaning feel like something new. The rise of Dyson also changed the vacuum cleaner industry forever. Other companies quickly saw that James's idea was successful, and they began to copy some of his designs. But Dyson was already moving forward. He continued to improve his machines, making them lighter, stronger, and more efficient. He also invested in research and development, creating a team of engineers who worked full-time to think of new ideas. The success of Dyson vacuums brought James something he had never had before: financial stability. For years, he and his wife had lived with little money, but now his company was growing fast. Dyson began to sell in other countries, including the United States. The world started to recognize the brand as a symbol of innovation and quality. But James was not only thinking about money. He wanted to change the way people thought about machines. He believed that design was not just about appearance, it was about solving problems in the smartest way. For him, a product had to be useful, durable, and beautiful. He wanted his company to be known for solving everyday problems with clever solutions. During this time, Dyson faced new challenges. Big companies did not like losing market share, so they tried to compete with him. Some even copied his technology, leading to legal battles. James fought these cases strongly because he believed in protecting innovation. Winning these battles was important, not just for his company, but for inventors everywhere. It showed that creative people deserved respect and protection for their ideas. The story of Dyson's breakthrough also teaches us about the power of marketing. James understood that even the best product needs to be explained to people in a clear and simple way. His advertising was honest, direct, and focused on the problem. Vacuum bags were a waste. By speaking to the everyday frustrations of customers, Dyson built trust and interest. By the late 1990s, Dyson was no longer just a new company. It was a leader. James had gone from being an outsider with thousands of failed prototypes to being the head of one of the most successful technology companies in Britain. His Cyclone vacuum cleaner was not just a product, it was a revolution. What makes this part of James Dyson's story so inspiring is not only the success itself, but the journey. It shows us that sometimes the world does not welcome new ideas easily. It may take years of rejection, financial hardship, and endless work before people finally understand the value of an invention. But if you believe in your idea and never stop improving it, success can come in the most powerful way. James Dyson built his company on persistence, innovation, and courage. He showed that you do not need to be accepted by the big players to succeed. Sometimes you have to create your own path, even if it is difficult. And sometimes the very thing that others reject becomes the thing that changes the world. By the end of the 1990s, Dyson was on its way to becoming a global name. But for James, this was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. He had many more ideas, and he was ready to take on bigger challenges, not just in vacuum cleaners, but in many other areas of technology. Episode 4: Expanding Innovation Beyond Vacuums. By the time Dyson vacuums became a success, James Dyson had already proven that he could change an industry. But for him, this was only the start. He did not want Dyson to be known as just a vacuum cleaner company. He wanted it to be a company of ideas, a place where engineers could experiment, invent, and create new solutions for everyday problems. James believed that innovation should never stop. If a company stopped thinking, it would lose its energy and purpose. After dominating the vacuum cleaner market, Dyson began to explore new directions. One of his next big challenges was hand dryers. For many years, public restrooms around the world had weak, noisy, and slow hand dryers. People often preferred paper towels because the dryers simply did not work well. James saw this as another problem waiting for a solution. In 2006, Dyson introduced the Airblade hand dryer. It used powerful sheets of air to wipe water off hands in just a few seconds. Unlike traditional dryers, which blew warm air slowly, the Airblade was fast, hygienic, and energy efficient. Once again, Dyson showed that a common product could be completely reimagined. Soon, Airblade dryers appeared in airports, restaurants, and offices all over the world. James Dyson also looked at fans and heaters. For decades, fans had the same basic design: spinning blades inside a protective grill. They worked, but they were noisy, hard to clean, and sometimes unsafe, especially for children. Dyson engineers began to ask, what if we could create airflow without blades? The answer came in 2009 when Dyson released the Air Multiplier, a bladeless fan. It looked futuristic and worked differently from anything else. The design used hidden technology to draw air in and push it out smoothly, creating a steady stream of cool air. It was quiet, stylish, and easy to clean. People were amazed by its design, and once again, Dyson had reinvented a simple household product. Each of these new products showed the same pattern: identify a problem, think differently, test, fail, test again, and finally succeed. Dyson's team of engineers followed the same spirit James had shown when he worked alone on his vacuum prototypes. They were not afraid of failure because they knew failure was part of the journey to invention. But James Dyson was not only building products, he was also building a culture. He wanted Dyson to be a place where engineers could dream big. He created research centers, laboratories, and design spaces where people could test wild ideas. He encouraged young engineers to join the company, and he often reminded them that it was okay to make mistakes as long as they kept trying. In 1999, Dyson opened a large research and development center in Malmesbury, England. This became the heart of the company. Later, Dyson expanded into other countries, opening facilities in Singapore and the Philippines. This global presence gave the company access to more talent, resources, and new markets. Dyson's rise was not just about products, it was also about philosophy. James believed strongly in the importance of engineers in society. He often said that engineers solve problems and that the world needed more of them. This belief led him to create the James Dyson Foundation in 2002. The foundation supports education in design and engineering, giving scholarships, funding schools, and inspiring young people to think creatively. Through the foundation, James also launched the Dyson Award, an international competition for design students. The award encourages students to create inventions that solve real problems. Winners receive not only money, but also recognition and support to bring their ideas to life. In this way, James Dyson used his success to inspire the next generation of inventors. As Dyson products became more popular, James faced new responsibilities. Leading a company with thousands of employees meant making big decisions about growth, production, and global strategy. He had to balance creativity with business. Some critics argued that Dyson products were too expensive, but James believed that quality and innovation justified the price. He did not want to make cheap machines, he wanted to make the best machines. By the early 2010s, Dyson had become a global technology company. Its products were sold in many countries, and the brand was recognized as a symbol of design and innovation. James Dyson, once a struggling inventor, had become a billionaire and one of the most respected business leaders in the world. Yet, despite his success, he remained focused on solving problems. What makes this part of his journey so inspiring is the way he expanded his vision. James Dyson could have stopped after the success of his vacuum cleaners. Many people would have been satisfied with that achievement. But he believed in always moving forward. For him, every problem was a chance to invent, and every invention was a chance to make life a little better. The story of Dyson's expansion beyond vacuums also reminds us of something important. Success is not about stopping when you achieve one goal. It is about continuing to grow, to learn, and to create. James Dyson showed that innovation has no limits. If you stay curious, brave, and persistent, you can keep finding new ways to change the world. By the middle of his career, James Dyson had already transformed several industries. But he was not finished. There were more challenges to face, more products to reinvent, and more risks to take. His journey teaches us that life is not about waiting for opportunities. It is about creating them again and again. Episode 5: Legacy of Innovation and the Future. As James Dyson grew older, his role changed from being a hands-on inventor to becoming a leader, mentor, and visionary. But even in his later years, he never stopped thinking about problems and solutions. For him, invention was not only about machines, it was about mindset. He believed that the way we think shapes the world we live in, and that people must keep asking questions if they want to improve life. One of Dyson's most ambitious moves came when the company started to explore battery technology and electric vehicles. James believed that the future of transportation would not rely on oil, but on clean energy. Dyson invested billions into designing an electric car. The project lasted several years, and the company even built prototypes. However, in 2019, James Dyson made a difficult decision. The car project was canceled. The reason was not failure in design or technology, but cost. It was simply too expensive to compete in the car market. Some saw this as a failure, but James explained it differently. He said that even though the car would not be produced, the knowledge gained from the project was valuable. The company had learned about batteries, motors, and aerodynamics, and this knowledge could be used in future products. For Dyson, no experiment was wasted. Every attempt, even one that does not lead to success, adds to human understanding. This way of thinking shows why James Dyson is such a unique figure. He does not see failure as the end, he sees it as part of the process. He once said that he made thousands of prototypes for his first vacuum, and most of them did not work. But each failure brought him closer to success. This attitude continued throughout his career. Another important part of Dyson's legacy is education. Through the James Dyson Foundation, he invested in young engineers and designers around the world. He opened schools, provided scholarships, and built programs to inspire creativity. In 2017, he went one step further by founding the Dyson Institute of Engineering and Technology in the UK. This institute allows students to study engineering while working on real Dyson projects. The goal is to give them practical experience and prepare them to solve real-world problems. James Dyson has always spoken about the importance of curiosity. He believes that children are naturally curious, always asking why and how. But often, as they grow up, they stop asking these questions. He argues that education should protect curiosity, not destroy it. By encouraging students to experiment, fail, and try again, society can produce the inventors of tomorrow. In his personal life, James Dyson has remained private. He is not the type of business leader who seeks fame or attention. Instead, he prefers to focus on work, design, and problem solving. His fortune made him one of the richest people in the UK, but he does not live like a celebrity. He is known more for his ideas than for his lifestyle. The story of James Dyson is a story of resilience. From a young man building prototypes in his shed to leading a global technology company, he proved that persistence can overcome obstacles. He faced rejection, doubt, and years of financial struggle, but he never stopped. He trusted his ideas even when others did not. Today, Dyson is more than just a company that sells machines. It is a brand that represents innovation, design, and problem solving. People who buy Dyson products know they're not only paying for a machine, but also for the years of thought, testing, and creativity behind it. Dyson shows that even everyday objects, like a vacuum cleaner or a fan, can be transformed with imagination and engineering. Looking at James Dyson's journey, we can learn important lessons for our own lives. First, we must not be afraid of failure. Every mistake teaches us something and brings us closer to success. Second, we must stay curious. Asking questions and exploring new ideas is the key to discovery. Third, we must think differently. The world changes when people dare to challenge old ideas and create new solutions. James Dyson's life is a reminder that success is not instant. It takes years of effort, patience, and determination. His story also shows that true achievement is not about money or fame, but about impact. Dyson's inventions have improved the way millions of people live, and his foundation has inspired thousands of young engineers. That is a legacy far greater than wealth. As we look to the future, Dyson's company continues to explore new technologies, from robotics to artificial intelligence, from clean energy to advanced materials. The spirit of invention remains alive. Even if James Dyson himself eventually steps back, his influence will continue through the culture he built and the people he inspired. The journey of James Dyson tells us something universal. every person has the power to change the world in their own way. It does not require genius, but it does require persistence, courage, and vision. Dyson once said, "Enjoy failure and learn from it. You can never learn from success." These words summarize his life philosophy. So, when we think of James Dyson, we do not just think of a vacuum or a fan. We think of a man who believed in ideas, who trusted the process of trial and error, and who showed that with creativity and determination, even the most ordinary objects can be extraordinary. His story is not only about machines, it is about human spirit, resilience, and the endless possibilities of innovation.